They say insanity's repeating the same crap and expecting a different outcome. So enter Neil Druckmann, who in 2020 unleashed The Last of Us Part 2, a sequel to the beloved first game that landed like a wet fart at a funeral. Fans retched over its story, a clusterfuck that would make a soap opera blush. Abby turning Joel's head into Titleist with a golf club? Fans lost it worse than Karen at a closed Starbucks. HBO's take on the first game though was a smash. Mostly faithful, although Bella Ramsey as Ellie was like casting a goblin as Cinderella. High on that win, Neil and HBO greenlit Season 2, but they were faced with a dilemma. What do? Do they fix the story, juice up Ellie and Joel's bond, and give them a bit more screen time, or serve the same steaming pile of shit and hope for some applause? Neil, stroking his genius ego like his favourite appendage, picked B. It flopped harder than a flaccid dick at an orgy. Fans didn't buy his tortured artist shtick, and his ego took a beating worse than Joel's noggin. Oh dear. So, fast forward to 3 weeks ago. I'm poolside, beer in hand, looking like a sunburned Adonis, and scrolling X, I spot Naughty Dog's middle finger to Neil, a chronological recut of Part 2. The original split Abby-Ellie structure was my main criticism of the first game. Playing Abby felt like being forced to root for a random thug who'd just curb-stomped your dog and pissed on your kids. So I'd spend hours throwing her off cliffs for fun during the game, such was my disdain and disinterest for the muscle-bound monster. However, I decided I'm going to relive my time through the chronological order of Druckmann's misery simulator to see if it unclogs the narrative constipation he created. But before I give you my thoughts, I'll give you a quick chronological breakdown of how the story flows. If you don't want spoilers, turn off now. So we start with young Abby hunting for her dad, Jerry Anderson, in the woods. They save a zebra with Owen, her future hunt partner, and then we go to the hospital where Jerry and Marlene debate about Ellie's surgery. Do they cure the fungus and kill the kid? Well, Marlene, conflicted, eventually approves. Alarms blur though post Joel's rampage, and we see Abby finding her dad dead in the surgery room with Owen by her side. We then see Joel and Tommy, and Joel's cleaning a guitar, confessing to Tommy about the hospital massacre. They then head back to Jackson, where Tommy says that he would have done the same. We then see Ellie, a bit older, sketching in her cabin. Joel drops off a guitar, promising her some lessons. Joel plays guitar. We then have the museum scene where Joel is surprising Ellie with a trip for her birthday. Dinosaurs, rockets, and some wholesome dad-daughter shit and infected. We then see Abby and Owen, now banging, explore the aquarium, getting cozy by the fish tanks and on the big wheel. We then cut to Ellie patrolling with Tommy, and Tommy asks him about the distance between her and Joel that's been growing. Eventually they meet Joel, and Joel and Ellie head to a hotel, find dead Jackson escapees. Ellie presses Joel about the hospital, and he sidesteps like a master. Then cut to Salt Lake City Hospital, where Ellie has found Marlene's hospital recording. She confronts him, where he admits he killed to save her. We then have Abby, who's back at the aquarium, playing an archery game with Owen, having a bit of cozy shit, and then she tells Owen that they've located Tommy and Jackson. Back to Jackson, where Ellie and Dina are kissing at a Jackson bar, sparking a clash with Seth, where Joel steps in and Ellie shuts him down. Joel leaves. Later that night, Ellie visits Joel's place to mend the relationship. Joel is standing by his hospital choice. Ellie says that she just wanted her life to matter and that she'll try to forgive him. Morning after, Jesse visits Ellie. They hit the bar where Seth serves some bacon sandwiches. Ellie and Dina snowball fight some snotty little kids and then ride out together on patrol. Abby and her Z team are seen in a ski lodge just outside of Jackson. Owen takes Abby and shows her Jackson, but they argue about what to do. Abby goes solo and gets jumped by some infected. Back to Dina and Ellie on patrol. They hit the town near Jackson, clearing a supermarket of infected. A blizzard forces them to a library where they smoke weed and visit the island of Los Lesbos. Abby, getting hunted by infected, gets rescued by Joel and Tommy. They take her to a ski lift building and then eventually the lodge where the Z team are. Using the snail trail left by Ellie and Dina, Jesse manages to find them in the library. He tells them Tommy and Joel are missing. We then go back to Abby, who reveals her grudge, shoots Joel's leg, and turns his head into a golf ball. Ellie arrives, hears some screams, but Z-Team pin her, forcing her to watch Abby's final championship swing. Dina and Jesse then find Ellie and a battered Tommy. We then go back to Jackson, where Tommy visits Ellie and says, "No revenge." Ellie's like, "Fuck that." Next morning, Ellie visits Joel's tombstone, goes to the house, gets some stuff, where Maria meets them. Maria lets her and Dina go. Tommy, we find, already has left. Back in Seattle, Abby wakes up at the WLF's not Seattle Sounders Stadium after a flashback of killing Joel. Manny says that Owen and Danny are out on patrol together. Mel joins Manny and Abby, and they go out on patrol, get attacked by some scars, and the WLF saves them at a gas station. Ellie and Dina hit Seattle, hunting Abby's crew. They search for fuel to open up the Fuck Fedra gate. On the travels, they find a warrant for the WLF leader Isaac at the courthouse. We find Tommy's left a trail of bodies everywhere. Eventually, a mine traps Dina and Ellie, and the WLF nabs them. At the WLF base, Nora reveals Danny is dead, all Owen's doing. Isaac stops Abby from chasing Owen, who's gone missing, as they are planning a Scar Island attack, but Abby ditches them anyway. We then cut to Ellie, who's tied up. She hears the WLF argue over if she should die or not. Dina from the roof snipes one. Ellie then stabs Jordan. They escape to the TV station, finding Leah's corpse and photos of Abby's crew in Jackson. But the WLF chase them through a subway with some shambobblers, and they hide in a theatre. Abby then heads to the aquarium to find Owen, but get nabbed by a fat Scar. Hung from a tree, she hears the Scary sermon. We then get introduced to Yara, who's been captured. She gets her arm smashed, but Lev saves them both. They escape to a cabin. Abby finds Owen on a yacht at the aquarium. They argue, then screw like it's the end times. Abby wakes from the hospital flashback where she sees Lev and Yara hanging. She decides to go and get them, eventually picking up Yara and carries her to the aquarium with her arm significantly worse. Ellie fights some WLF and infected then at Hillcrest. Jesse helps her steal a truck and they crash it after a chase. Abby and Lev then hit the WLF hospital for Yara's surgery kit via Scar rooftop bridges. Abby's arrested for going AWOL, but is freed by Nora. She then fights some infected, grabs a kit from an ambulance and battles a big rat king himself. Ellie decides that she's going to go to the hospital to find Abby. On the way, she fights some stalkers, gets dragged into a river, then the sewers. After escaping the sewers, she's shot by a Scar arrow, fights her way to the hospital, eventually chases Nora, pulls her into a spore-filled basement, and eventually kills her in her infected state. Back at the aquarium, Mel amputates Yara's arm. Ellie, then shaken, returns back to the theatre. Next up is Abby having a flashback where she dreams of her dad alive in the hospital. Cut to day 3, and back at the aquarium, Yara and Lev argue. Pregnant Mel calls Abby a cunt, seemingly though still oblivious to Owen's liquid white gold deposit in Abby the night before. Mel's joining Owen though in Santa Barbara without Abby, she says. Lev bolts. Abby and Yara chase him to the marina, where Tommy meets them and starts sniping them. Manny gets crushed. Abby fights Tommy. Yara saves her. Tommy falls into the sea. Ellie and Jesse plan to find Tommy but split up. Ellie hits the aquarium, kills Alice, the dog, Owen, and a pregnant Mel, devastated by the latter. Tommy arrives, they leave, but Ellie leaves her map, revealing their location. Abby and Yara follow Lev to Scar Island amid the WLF attack. Lev's killed her mum in self-defense. Yara dies protecting them. Abby and Lev escape Haven's burning ruins, fighting a big Scar on the way. Back at the aquarium, Abby finds Mel and Owen dead. Lev spots Ellie's map. They decide to head to the theatre. We then see the same scene from Abby and Ellie's viewpoints. The one where Tommy gets shot in the leg, you see Jesse get crushed, and Ellie gives up. Abby beats Ellie senseless. Lev stops her from finishing Ellie and Dina, and they both leave. Cut to the farmhouse live. Ellie and Dina raise Junior Jesse at a farmhouse. Ellie flashes back though to Joel's death, having serious PTSD. One-eyed Tommy arrives and says Abby's in Santa Barbara. Ellie refuses to go. Toby storms off in a huff. Ellie plays guitar. Then, haunted, leaves Dina to go and hunt Abby. Abby and Lev arrive in Constance to find the Firefly house. Eventually they do, contact them via radio, but on the way out, Rattlers nab them. Lev gets cannonballed by Fat Geralt and his friends. Ellie then hits Constance, gets caught in a rattler trap. She kills Fat Geralt's pal, who is bitten by a clicker, and shoots Fat Geralt himself, learning Abby's location in the meantime. At the Rattler base, she finds Abby and Lev strung up on a pole, frees them. As they're just about to leave, PTSD triggers a beach fight, Ellie loses 2 fingers and spares Abby. 8-fingered Ellie returns to the farmhouse, Dina's gone, Ellie plays guitar. Then walks off across the field. End of game. So my verdict. Well, in fairness, the chronological cut flows like a clean shit, smooth, no streaks. Abby's early arc makes her less of a random asshole when she golfs Joel. Ellie and Joel's bond gets more room to rip your heart out, fueling her revenge. It's still Neil's misery jerk-off, 40 hours of everyone's fucked, but it's less enraging and makes a lot more sense when you see the story play out from the very beginning. Other subplots weave together and make sense. For example, the Owen Danny on patrol casual comment by Mel in the stadium is within a decent range of the average memory span when you are shown Danny as being killed later on, rather than 10 hours and several playthroughs up to the point where you are like, who the fuck is Danny? Naughty Dog had to work though with what they had originally. Some scenes are probably shorter than they would be, especially early on, had they designed the game this way in the first place. An example of this is you could have had more time with younger Abby and her dad prior to the hospital Joel Rambo rampage, a bit of time to build up a relationship with her before you get to play Tiger Woods with Joel's Bonds. It takes an absolute genius to create a story which isn't in full chronological order. Not many can do it. Neil is far away from that. The reception to the second game and then ultimately the TV show prove that. If you alienate half your game players and TV audience, then you've fucked up majorly. If the game had been released this way the first time round, I suspect that it would have been a lot better received, even if people didn't agree with the death of a beloved character. If you're looking to play this for the first time, ignore Naughty Dog's advice and play this version first. The original structure is like watching Stevie Wonder try to put a jigsaw together after a bottle of whiskey. Naughty Dog's remix proves you can buff a turd, even if it is still Neil's stinky masterpiece, and some of the flaws with the main story remain. It is a more coherent, logical, and fleshed out narrative, with the story beats mainly in the right places at the right time. It just makes sense. You build a little bit more empathy with Abby this way round. The early scenes with Joel are now played as actual scenes with him rather than flashbacks after he's on the 9th green. This makes his death a lot more shocking and impactful when it eventually arrives, but you now have the understanding as to the all-important why. Should I have reviewed the original version? I would have rated it as flawed. This time round, I would rate it as fun. That is how much Neil fucked it up. Other wannabe geniuses, take note before you try splatter your creative juices on a page. Sometimes simplicity is the best way forward. Anyway, I'm off now. I'll see you all later.